This book was written in a single night by a man who made a deal with the devil. At least that's a story people have told for 800 years. The truth is, no one has ever been able to fully explain it. It's the largest book of its kind on earth, and its pages are made of skin. And inside the Word of God, there's a full-page portrait of Satan himself. This is the Devil's Bible. Before we get to the devil, you have to understand the book, because the object itself is almost as disturbing as the legend. Its real name is the Codex Gigas, the giant book. And that name is not poetry, it's a warning. It stands nearly 3 feet tall, it weighs 165 pounds, and it takes 2 grown adults just to lift it off a table. And the pages aren't paper, they're skin. Vellum, made from the hides of more than 160 animals. An entire herd died to make this one single book. Inside is the complete Latin Bible, a full history of the Jewish people, a medical encyclopedia, a calendar of the dead, and folded quietly into all that holy text is instructions for casting out demons. It was meant to hold everything important a person could know in one single volume. But that's not what the people across the world to see. They come for one page. For hundreds of pages, the book is exactly what you would expect. Careful, reverent. And then you turn one more page, and something is looking back at you. A full portrait of the devil. Almost 20 inches tall, crouched low, completely alone, his eyes are forward, staring straight out of the parchment at you. There's no scene around him, no centers, no flames, no story to explain him away. Just the devil, by himself, given an entire page inside of this codex. And here's the part that stays with people. On the page directly facing him, the same hand painted the kingdom of heaven. Heaven on the left, hell on the right. Open the book to that spread, and you hold them both at once. Someone wanted that. And the question is, who made this? And that is where the history stops making sense. When modern experts study the writing, they find something that shouldn't be possible. From the first page to the last, it's all the work of a single hand. Think about what that means. No second scribe stepping in, no change in handwriting over the years, and no place where an old man's grip begins to shake. The script stays identical, start to finish, as if the whole book were written in one unbroken breath. But it couldn't have been. Scholars estimate that a book this size, written alone, would take 20 to 30 years of constant daily labor. 20 years of one hand that never seems to age on the page. And that impossibility is the exact crack where the legend crawls in. Because people look at this book and decide no ordinary man could have made it. So they told a different story. It goes like this. A monk broke a sacred vow, and his punishment was the cruelest the monastery had, to be walled up alive and left in the dark to die. In his final hours, he begged for another way. "Spare me," he said, "and by sunrise I'll give you a book that holds all human knowledge. A book that makes this monastery legendary." They agreed. They were certain he'd fail. And by midnight, so was he. The hours were gone, the task was impossible, So he fell to his knees and he prayed, but not to God. He called on the devil. And the legend says that the devil answered and finished the book before dawn. In return, the monk painted that portrait near the back, a tribute to the one who saved his life. That is the legend. But the truth is quieter, and in its own way, it might be worse. Historians believe the book was written by a real monk, remembered only as Herman the Recluse. Alone, across decades of his life, not in a single night, not with the help from below, just one man handing over his entire life, one page at a time. And when you sit with that, it becomes its own kind of haunting. A person disappearing completely into their work, until the work is the only thing left of them. We don't know his face, we barely even know his name. What we have is the book he became. And there's a darker detail. In some records, Herman is described as having been cast out, cut off from others while he wrote. Whether that's true, or just the seed the legend grew from, we can't say. You'd think a book that nearly cost a man his life to create would finally get some rest. It didn't. Over the centuries, the Codex became a prize. It was traded between monasteries, locked away in royal collections, and eventually stolen as a spoil of war, carried off to Sweden by an army that wanted it for the king. And then, in 1697, a fire broke out in the royal castle where it was kept. And as the flames spread, someone made a desperate choice. They threw the devil's Bible out of a window. And somehow it survived the fall, but only barely. The impact cracked the binding and tore the pages loose. And while some of them were recovered, others were never found again. We only know what was on most of them, just some quiet monastic rules. But the legend insists otherwise, that among them was a hidden prayer, something the monks tore out on purpose because they wanted to make sure the world would never read it. We will almost certainly never know. Today the Codex Gigas sits behind glass in Stockholm, its enormous cover lying open and the devil staring out at everyone who comes to look. And people really do come, by the thousands. But not really for the devil on the page, and not really for the size of it, or the skin, or the centuries of fire and theft. They come for the person. Someone we can't fully name, who poured their entire life into something so vast, so strange, and so beautiful that 800 years later, we'd rather believe the devil made it than accept a single human being could. And if you want more stories like this one, go ahead and subscribe.